The Connections Through Culture is a grants program that is run by the British Council in the UK and East Asia. This program aims to develop exciting cultural exchanges and collaborations between artists, arts professionals, and arts organizations to support long-lasting relationships between people from East Asia and the UK. So this is open, like I said earlier, it's open to artists, cultural professionals, creative practitioners, arts and culture organizations, hubs, networks, and collectives. So it's very, very broad. The primary objective for this grant is to support new connections and exchanges and collaborations between the UK and East Asia. So these grants will support the work of UK and EA countries' applicants to in a collaborative way in terms of it can be digital, face-to-face, or even a hybrid artistic project. So for projects between December 23, this grant is for projects that are meant to be from December 23 to October 2024. And please note that the funds will be transmitted in January 2024. So just when you're planning your grant, please ensure that you know that you're going to receive the money around January 2024. The deadline for this program is October 23, 2023, at, close to midnight, a minute before midnight GMT. I want to stress the GMT because today there was quite a bit of confusion. A lot of people came an hour earlier, so it's not BST, it's GMT. So please note this. Okay. So what is Connections Through Culture? Yeah, so there are different grant values depending on where you are based. So in Australia, Japan, New Zealand, and the mainland, in Australia, Japan, and New Zealand, there are grants up to £5,000. And in China, Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, Philippines, and Thailand, it's up to 10,000 GBP. So in the Philippines, that would be close to 700,000 pesos. So this is open to individual artists, cultural professionals, creative practitioners. I mentioned this already. And there has to be one person from the UK and then one person from an East Asian country. We get a lot of questions as what makes you qualify. And I think I will say it straight out. It means that you are a resident of that country. And that means that you are paying taxes in that country. So for example, if you're a student and you are a short-term resident of the UK, that does not mean that you are a UK partner. You have to be paying taxes in the country in which you represent. It has to be agreed between the two partners, and the grants offered to applicants can be in different art forms. So either theater, dance, visual arts, literature, film, music, architecture, design, and fashion. So you can also have cross-disciplinary projects. Okay, so what can the grants be used for? They can be delivered in digital, face-to-face, or a hybrid blend or of both. So there's different kinds of things that you can do. It can be residencies, exhibitions, festivals, workshops, showcasing, performances. It can be digital innovation. It can be something that combines art and technology, conferences, panels, talks, creative uses of archives, research and development of future project ideas. So basically, it's a lot. We're very, very open to what the grants can be used for. So please feel free to propose. Again, as we mentioned, we do encourage cross-disciplinary projects. There are a few key themes that are part of this grant run. But the grant is going to be used to support the processes and time to develop these projects with artistic expressions or creativity. So I'd like to stress that because we've had quite a lot of inquiries about projects that did not really involve arts and culture. This is the center of this program. At its core, that's what's most important. And we really encourage collaborative activities, including artistic and creative exchange. So this can be knowledge sharing, skills transfer, the creation of production or a practice, creating, new artistic work or creative content, etc. We highly encourage participation of organizations and individuals from different areas in the UK, England, Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland. So it doesn't have to be, we get a lot from just London, and we hope that you can expand your network. This year, we have a lot of priority themes, two priority themes actually: diversity, inclusion, and climate change. So, we highly encourage you to think about that when you're drafting your proposals, because it helps you kind of get the grant. Okay, I'm going to talk about eligibility conditions. So the first thing you'll be needing is a complete application. So if your application is not complete, you will not be eligible. So please make sure that you have all of those things. It's going to require a project budget, a partner's agreement letter, and a CV of your project leader. Project leader is going to be like the main person, but I'll talk about that more later. This should be received by October 23, 2023 in the submittable application site. So that's an external partner which we have for you to submit your documents. So everything has to be submitted by the deadline. If it's late, sorry, we can't accept that application anymore. So as I mentioned earlier, each application must comprise of at least one UK partner and one East Asia partner from the eligible East Asia countries that I discussed earlier. Like I mentioned, just in case anyone was late, that means you are a resident and you are paying taxes in that country. You can have more than one partner. So, for example, if there are two people from the UK and one person from East Asia, that's fine, but at least one of each. So, organizations should be registered in the UK or in any eligible East Asia countries. If you are an individual, you are also allowed to join. But just if you are organization, then you have to be registered. Um, the project proposal should have a timeline ending no later than October 31, 2024. So the project has to conclude by then. Right. Okay. Proposed projects must be for the arts, cultural, or creative sectors with any of the following forms. So, music, film, literature, visual arts, theater and dance, including circus, architecture, design, and fashion. This includes crafts-based social enterprises, etc. Creative technology, including games, immersive, mixed, augmented, and virtual reality. So it is a very, very broad. Uh, yeah, it's a very, very broad thing. So everyone is invited. We welcome proposals for cross art form projects, projects with themes relevant to the creative economy, cross-disciplinary arts projects such as art and science or art and technology. If you are a funding body who gives grants, you are not eligible. In terms of our selection criteria, I think this is the kind of the most important slide because everyone wants to get a grant. I'm just going to go through these very briefly. So the first, obviously, is quality. The project, 25%, the project proposal should be of high artistic and creative quality. Yeah, it has to be innovative in its approach. So if it's kind of already existing, it should be something new, a new way to deliver. It doesn't have to be tech, but a new way to deliver something. It must show consideration of how the project might continue after it's this year of delivery. So I think that's kind of like longevity of the project, or like what's the impact? What happens after? Like after the project is done, how is it? How does the impact still stay, or how do you nurture that collaboration after that first project is done? The second criteria is partnerships. So the project proposal is mutually and equally benefiting both UK and East Asia applicants. I think this is a kind of crucial criteria because, if one side is tokenized, for example, it's like, okay, we're just going to use your event venue to perform, or we're just going to, then it's not really like you both benefit from it, right? It's not really a collaboration. This is a collaboration grant. So it has to be kind of both of you benefit and both of you participate. Just further to that is number 3, management. The project proposal is well planned and resourced and demonstrates equitable use of the budget between UK and East Asia applicants. So I think this is quite straightforward. it's not exactly going like 50-50, okay? 50% is going there. Yeah, obviously, if someone is flying somewhere, potentially that might have an increase for one side. Example, if someone from the Philippines is flying to the UK and that's where the project is going to be held, then it might have not have to be. But in terms of delivery, you have to be achieving the same goals, and that kind of the resources have to show that it's equitable in that sense. In terms of theme and relevance, the project proposal should address equality, diversity, inclusion, or environmental sustainability. So I brought these factors up already when we discussed the themes. Okay, in terms of our grant timeline, the application site submittable will close on October 23, 2023, 1 minute before midnight GMT, not BST. So applications are already open now, and these are, so you can already access the submittable site, and I will talk about the site a little bit more later on. So that's October 23. Evaluation will happen in late October and November 2023. So we will be announcing and confirming the acceptance from grantee by November 23, 2023. So it's quite fast. You have about, 2 months, and then you're going to know if you got the grant. Right. And then in terms of contracting, all the successful applicants will be signing a British Council grant agreement, and payment will be made 30 days following the receipt of each invoice. So this may be different per country. I know that predominantly we have mostly UK and Philippine people on this call, but I think we have some people from New Zealand as well. So please get in touch with your head of arts in your country, and they may be able to give more details on the contracting processes. In terms of a grantee orientation, there will be an orientation similar to like this session that we're having today in January 2024 to define all of the requirements for grant project delivery. And then for grant delivery, the project should be delivered between December 2023 to October 2024. So this means that it has to end before this day. It cannot go beyond October 2024. British Council staff will be in communication with you for support and progress updates. This is usually the person in country who will support you with your grant delivery. Right, number 7, grant project completion. I mentioned this earlier. It must be completed by October 31st, 2024. And in terms of reporting, you will be required to submit a project completion report, which should be submitted within 30 days of the end of the project. So for projects that are longer than 6 months, an interim report should be submitted by end of month 3 of the project. So these are required as part of your grant. Okay, so just going to like the application toolkit and frequently asked questions. These are all on our website. You will be able to download the application toolkit and the frequently asked questions there. Speak to possible partners. I think Flo has already kind of put in the chat like a directory of different people you could reach out to. This is the responsibility of each grantee. The grantee is responsible for looking for their own partner, while we have the directory. While we have the directory, you must be the one to reach out to your possible partners. So that goes the same if you're in the UK, please reach out to your Philippine counterparts. And then you form your collaborative project idea. So this is something that you have to create together, obviously, because you both have to consent to that idea, that project, and co-develop that project. And then you have to plan time to complete the submittable so that submittable form in English on time so that you make it for the October 23 deadline. So just to stress the rule of thumb, always read through the guidance very carefully. And if you are in doubt, please go back to the guidance. It's very straightforward. If you see the application toolkit and frequently asked questions, everything should be there. But if you have any questions, please do ask us today. Right. What are the different challenges that you can incur while you're applying? The most common is that you may not have connections in that counterpart region. So that's always the people say, oh, I don't know anyone in the UK. So what we say is like Google is your friend, but also Flo has shared like a directory, which is on the British Council Malaysia site, of kind of suggested people you can partner up with. So you have to reach out to them directly. The British Council staff in East Asia are available to refer. So that's through that kind of document. But it will be the lead applicant's role to find a suitable counterpart applicant. That is not the responsibility of the British Council team. So if you already have a prospective counterpart partner, I know some of you on this chat already have both of you on this call. Um, I think it's important to think about how you align. So are your values and ways of working aligned? Can you both work together regularly and equitably during the project timeline? We want to make sure that one person won't drop out, or you're equally committed to the project. I think if you're equally passionate, then that is a commit, then it's likely to succeed. And if you are selected as a project team with you as a lead partner, so the lead partner is the person who is going to submit the application. Our British Council staff will be your first point of contact. So in this call, we have Chris Ann, who is part of the arts team in the Philippines. And of course, you reach out to whoever is in your country. So that's for support for risks and issues with your delivery, timeline, budget, partner, and other stakeholders. Okay, applying through the Submittable platform. So, like I mentioned earlier, Submittable is the external site for all CTC applications for this grant. The link is on the application toolkit, which is on the British Council CTC webpage for each of the East Asia countries. So, the first thing you have to do is to create a Submittable account. You cannot really view that form. You can't really see what you have to answer. So you have to create the account, and then that's when you can see the form. And then I highly suggest to keep an offline copy of your answers in case of any technical issues. We've all been there when the website, knock on wood, crashes or whatever. You want to make sure that you have a backup of that. If there are any questions for the Submittable account, I think you should direct all of your questions to the platform. There should be a place where you can submit a query. If that fails, then please contact us at ctc@britishcouncil.org. I will say that is the most important email address right now. So please take note of that, because for any help, you will have to use that email address. We also need your consent. We require you to agree that we are going to keep and share your information for the purposes of the grant application. So if you get selected, this is for the whole duration of your grant project delivery. So we will ask for that through the platform. There are many things that you will have to submit, which I've kind of touched on earlier. So it is important that you give us your consent in terms of the data. Okay, completing the application, what to prepare. So almost all of the new applicants and previous grantees have the same questions as you. So they're all going to have the same questions, and you and your partner from the other, whether you're UK or East Asia, both your contact details will be required. You will also be required to submit the CVs of the project leader. Perhaps even both, that might be useful. Portfolio links. So for example, you can provide a Dropbox link, a website link, just to kind of show the work that you do and the quality of the work. Letters of agreement from partners. So if you are the project, like if you are the lead partner who's applying, you will need a letter agreement from your UK partner or vice versa. So as you see, there's a lot of things that are needed. So please prepare ahead so that you can make the deadline. The Submittable platform lets you save your application draft as you go along. So please make sure that all of the details are correct. Once you submit the button, further editing will not be permitted. So just save first and double check before you press submit. The Submittable form has collaboration enabled. So just because you're the lead applicant, it doesn't mean you have to do all the work. Your project partner will be able to collaborate on that form. And the link is visible on the top right hand corner named invite collaborators. So once you start, you can invite your collaborators so that you both know that you agree to what is in the application. And again, the application must be made in English. So in terms of completing the application, um, what to prepare. So number one, your proposal. Again, the most important part. Let's talk about the criteria a little bit. What are you going to do, and how are you going to deliver it, and why are you going to do it? What is your inspiration? What is the reason why you're delivering this project? um, when and with whom will you be doing the activities? So it's not just your partner, but who is going to take part, who is like the audience, who will be involved, who are you targeting, etc. What is innovative and unique in your proposal? Why is it new? What is so different? What makes it special? What are the short term and long term impacts of your project? What are you trying to achieve? I think impact, of course, is important. We always want to make impactful projects. What is your project plan and timeline? So yeah, basically all the details of your project, who, when, what, and then like when, at what phases are you going to deliver each of these projects or activities, and then of course the budget. Um, we will ask you, well, although of course you're going to be answering some of them in text, we will be asking you to complete a spreadsheet, and there will be a project budget template from the British Council webpage for these eligible East Asia countries. So please make sure to complete your proposed budget in Great GBP, Great British Pounds, not in any of the local countries, regional currencies. I think it's really important to note for budget. Please take note things like tax, currency exchange, because those are the things that we often forget in terms of the budget. So please factor all of those things in: shipping costs, etc. Every single part of your project should be allotted in this budget, because yeah, it's kind of a set amount what you're going to ask for. Right. In terms of what to consider, I talked about this a little bit like earlier. What is the intended targeted reach of your project? So who are your target audience, and are they going to be online, offline, or both? Who are you trying to reach? Do you intend to have online and or offline audiences or participants? Yeah, what's the format aside from your project team? How many audiences or participants do you expect to come online or offline? Like, what's your projected market for this program? And which online platforms would they take place on? Again, I want to stress that not all grant projects will have public audiences or participants. It all depends on your objective. So obviously, if you're researching, then it doesn't have to be public facing. It really depends on your proposal. Great. One thing we want to think about is access support. We really want all of the applicants to embed audience accessibility into their projects. Please include any of these costs. So when we think about this, it's anything from captions, sign language interpreters, like translators. If you're doing a physical event, what about ramps? Please include these accessibility costs. It's important that you consider them because we are, of course, an inclusive organization. And if you, as an applicant, if any of the applicants have any accessibility requirements for the delivery of your project, you may be able to request additional funds beyond the core grant, because, of course, we want to make sure and ensure that all of the accessibility needs are met. But these costs are not guaranteed. But of course, we will do everything that we can to support the needs in terms of accessibility. If you identify as disabled, you are welcome to contact us at ctc@britishcouncil.org. So, of course, again, this is the very, very important email address that you need. So, for any possible support that we may be able to give you with your application. Again, of course, there are British Council policies and requirements when it comes to proposing our activities. So if it involves children or vulnerable adults, we have to think about safeguarding and ensuring that everyone's needs are met. Equality, diversity, and inclusion, environmental sustainability, and more. So please, these are all in the application toolkit and the FAQs that are on the website. I've stressed this so many times, but all of the applications have to be submitted by 23:59 GMT on October 23. And then again, the email address for application processes. And then if you have any technical problems with submittable, please refer to the help page and click email support for technical help if you cannot find the existing answer to your question. Right, we're nearly to the end of this presentation, so I'm just going to go through some examples of CTC projects that have been successful in receiving these grants. So the first one was from Katamag, Borneo and Borneo Boat Lute Revival, who collaborated with Pitt Rivers Museum in the UK. And what this did was they delved into museum collections, investigated cultural artifacts, and breathed new life in the archives. So, shedding light on the ongoing practices and preservation efforts of the boat lute in rural and urban communities. So what they aimed to do was to amplify Indigenous voices and reimagine the role of databases and archives. So that's called The Archive is Alive between UK and Malaysia. As I said, it doesn't have to be in person. So in Vietnam, one of the examples was to build an online archive of contemporary Vietnamese art with UK experts. And this grantee was from Hanoi, and he collaborated with SOAS and the Tate and many others. So like I mentioned earlier, it doesn't have to be in person. It can be purely online. It depends on what your project is about. In Indonesia, between Indonesia and the UK, Nudes Radio collaborated with a graphic design team from Bandung, Jakarta, and Java, and created a Connecting Archipelagos project, which was a radio exchange between UK and Indonesia. In the Philippines, Paulo Heras of Comiket connected with Julie Tate of Lakes International Comics Arts Festival, and they created a comic festival in the Philippines and collaborated on that. And between Thailand and Northern Ireland, there was a collaboration that was a Zoom-based performance. So again, not necessarily in person. Right, I'm gonna stop sharing now. And let's move into questions. If you have any questions, please feel free to raise your hand. Okay, Christine's got a question, so I'm going to call on you first.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Thank you, Mitch, for that. That was super helpful. My question is about more sort of the research and development, because the examples that you just showed of successful grantees seem to have like a end product or end performance. Are there any kind of examples of what was a successful research and development approach, or a proposal rather?
Well, I think there's one thing, just because you mentioned end product. So this is part of the FAQs, which are actually on the website.
Okay.
You can actually use the grant to kind of go into like, okay, this is the first phase or this is the second phase. Or for example, the grant is also open to people who have completed the first phase and then have something new that they want to do.
Got you.
So
okay.
it's really pretty open in terms of what you want to deliver. In terms of concrete examples, maybe I'll ask Flo if she knows of any, but I do think that it really depends on how you present it, and it doesn't necessarily have to end with a concrete product, but it has to end somewhere, right? It can't be open-ended.
Yeah, got you. Thank you.
Cool. We have Diane.
Kia ora. Just a question about the new aspect of the project. Could a new aspect be to adapt something that already exists, but to make it more relevant to a different audience, a new audience? Would that be counted as something new?
Nijing, I'm gonna call you for this one, or Flo. But I do think that I mean, from what I know, I do think that it can be a new direction of you. So if you are a previous grantee, it has to be something brand new that you're going to build and not be something that already exists. So if the project is already existing, then it cannot be used. So if there's something new about that project, then perhaps yes. Am I correct, Flo?
Yes, you are.
Okay.
Yes, in short, yes, you are. It has to be an entirely new project.
Right.
With
So if it's an existing theatre work for an English audience, but we're adapting it and weaving through some cultural New Zealand significance to make it suitable for a New Zealand audience, that's the collaboration. Would that be seen as something new because we're adapting it?
To be honest, I think like I'm just gonna jump in and say the most important thing is kind of creating a collaboration, right? It's kind of you both building something. So I don't see how, like, I might be wrong, but I don't see how like the other participants are collaborating and creating that work unless it's I don't know. I think it's kind of contextual, like in terms of thinking about if it's a truly collaborative endeavor between you and them and you and your partner, because like I mentioned earlier, it has to be mutually beneficial. So for example, if that person what's the benefit for them of them translating that program? I think I would put it at that. Flo or Nijing, would you like to contribute?
Yes, I would agree with Mitch. Yeah, if there is a new element or adapted to the new audience, for example, then it should be seen as a new.
But it just has to be mutually equitable. It has to be an equitable project.
Sure.
Is that okay, Diane?
Thank you.
Okay. Sai?
Hi, Mitch. Hello. I just have a question about, for example, if you were to fly someone to the Philippines to do a talk, for example, how is and can the output of the grant sort of be like having that person come here and create a dialogue, or because it can be seen as inequitable if someone is being able to travel here to engage with people here without the other person from the Philippines going to, let's say, the UK. So does the output need to be a singular thing, or could it be, in this case of like a talk, could it be like a dialogue where like one person goes to the UK and another person goes to the Philippines? So how would, in a situation like that, like, is that equitable, or is it enough that like someone comes here and then does a talk?
No, I don't think that's collaborative, because that would be more of like you're inviting a guest speaker. So the point of connections through culture is to kind of build a new work, and you're building a project that you're co-developing, co-creating. So it has to be like a creative collaboration. So for example, if that person, I don't know what group you're currently representing now, Sai, but for example, if you're creating new music with someone who is in another country, there has to be a creation element, or like not creation, but I don't know, co-curation of it or something. I think that I wouldn't really think that it would be suitable to just be like, okay, I'm going to fly in someone and then you're going to fly there. Like, I don't know if that's exactly creating something.
But for example, it's like let's say it's like a collaborative lecture or something. While that output, the collaborative lecture, is sort of co-creating it with the UK partner, but the UK partner is flying here, and because of that added cost of like flying to the Philippines, arguably the cost of coming here is like inequitable, because like part of that budget is them flying here whilst the Philippine partner stays in the Philippines and doesn't get to fly. So is that an example of inequitable use of the budget?
No. That's still considered, like I mentioned earlier, that's still equitable, because obviously to deliver like that costs more. So it means beyond the travel costs, you would have to divide the costs equally. Does that make sense for both of you to be able to collaborate accurately?
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Sai. Rice?
Hi. Sorry if you've already answered this question. I was just wondering, for the collaborator in the UK, is it important that they be affiliated or part of an organisation, or can it be an individual practitioner?
You can be an individual practitioner, so it's not necessary. It can be individual, organization, collective, anything really. Institution, etc. The only thing that we cannot fund any funding agencies is the only limitation.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, do you have another question? Are you okay?
No. I don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Julius? Is that Julius?
Yes.
Yeah.
Good afternoon.
Do you have a question?
I have this question. I'm actually into film, and what if my film project is already in the works, and I just needed the additional support from the British Council?
No, as Julius has mentioned, it has to be a brand new project. It cannot be something that is already existing and then you're just seeking additional funding, because otherwise it's not collaborative.
So even if the film has not yet been shot, but we're still collating funds from it, and we already have grants available, but we just need additional funding, then we are not qualified for the British
I think,
Council.
Julius, the criteria will be in how you're going to engage a UK counterpart, because without the UK counterpart, it doesn't qualify under this project. So if your film involves a collaboration with a UK counterpart, then yes, potentially, but it would have to be a brand new project with this UK counterpart.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Diana Stevenson. Hi, Diana. Are you from Glasgow International?
Yes, thanks so much for including me. And I've just been discussing the project that I know that you've been in touch with my colleague Richard about, and he's been letting me know the communication. So thank you so much for all of the information. It's really helpful. The question that we had is, I think you know that we've been in touch with the Viva XCon Biennial and are really hoping to build a collaborative project with the colleagues there, both between the biennial in the Philippines and also with our own festival in Glasgow. But we're also considering, and I think he may have mentioned this to you, a project with Philippine artists Amy Lien and Enzo Camacho. And we wanted to ask if we could consider making an application to a different British Council fund, which is Biennials Connect, at the same time. That application to Biennials Connect would be to support the project with Amy and Enzo, and the application to this fund, Connections Through Culture, would be with the collaboration with Viva XCon. Can we submit both of those applications simultaneously?
Yes, but just so I can give context to everyone else on the call, there is a different call for festivals, biennials, and that kind of thing. So if you are interested in that, please stay tuned to the British Council website and socials, because we will be sharing that shortly, because there is that program to support the connection of two different biennials and festivals. So one from not even just East Asia, from a different country, and the UK. So that also exists. And then apart from that, we are not sure when it's going to be launched yet, but there is also going to be the International Collaboration Program, which has grant funding that is bigger than CTC. So that's another grant opportunity, which is launching, I'm not sure when, but again, please stay connected to the British Council social media sites to learn more about that. All of these different programs are separate, so you can apply for each of them. So if you apply to CTC, you can apply for ICP, and then you can also apply for the Biennials program. Hope that's okay.
Thank you. That's helpful. Yes. Can I just quickly check? Yeah, that's all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. CL?
Hi, I'm Christina Lopez. I'm an artist based here in Manila. For the project, I'm thinking of proposing a publication. I just wanted to ask if it's possible. This is a new publication. It will include essays from people from the UK and people from the Philippines. But what I wanted to ask is, would I still be eligible to apply if the grant will only cover a portion of the publication costs? because I can't imagine that it would be enough, or I'm just like publications cost a lot to produce. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah. So I think the first thing to think about is that if the publication is still collaborative, then it is fine. We've been asked about supplemental funding and seeing if if it's fine to kind of combine grants from different agencies or different things. We say yes, that's fine, but please be transparent about like, okay, this British Council is credited because this was British Council is credited because this collaboration happened, but we have additional support from other grant giving bodies, for example. But I will say that please, obviously, if it's a terrorist organization or any kind of organizations that don't align with the British Council kind of values, then of course that is not allowed. So you have to be transparent with us on who the other grantees are going to be.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Shafe?
Hi, that's right. Hi, Michelle. Yeah. Okay. So I have two questions to ask. Hope that is okay. So the first one is related to eligibility. I was wondering, like, putting myself into the context. I'm Malaysian, but I'm a tax resident in the UK. Would I be eligible to team up with someone who resides and practice in Malaysia to submit for this application? And
if you are, I'll just answer that quickly. Like, if you are a tax resident and you are a permanent resident in the UK, then yes, that is possible.
Okay, that sounds great. And the second one is in terms of the delivery. Would it be kind of acceptable that if I were to collaborate with my partner in Malaysia, and the idea was to hold, let's say, we don't know yet, like exhibition, and one will be held in Malaysia and another in the UK. Would that be kind of like acceptable?
Yep, as long as you're collaborating and like to ensure that those connect and are a collaborative effort.
Okay, right. Sounds great. Thank you.
Thank you. Mike R.
Hello. Thank you. I think, thank you for this. I think some of the questions I had were, I think, already answered partly in the chat box. Like I understand, like if we have multiple partners, there can be like more than two. I mean, there can be like partners from several East Asian countries, and or several all across the UK also. So for example, here on the East Asian side, I'm from the Philippines. But there was also like a Malaysian and Indonesian partner on it, just in case that was possible. That is doable, right? I mean, as long as there's at least one of each. Yes.
I'm going to ask Nijing about this because I'm not entirely sure. Nijing or Flo?
I think she might have already,
it's possible. It's possible to have multiple partners as long as there is a UK applicant and an East Asian applicant. You can have sub-applicants, if you like, or partners who are from different countries. Yes.
Thank you. Just another thing, like
Flo.
Thank you. And another thing, I actually noticed that you meant that in the presentation you mentioned an organization that I'm actually fairly familiar with, Comiket / under Paulo Heras, I guess they were involved in that peak of like the comics festival. I don't suppose there's any issue to getting them as a partner for anything that I'm thinking of, right?
No.
If they've already worked with before.
No, that's totally fine because it's a brand new project. So like I mentioned previously, if you are a previous grantee awardee as well, if you have a new project that builds on, then you can apply to be considered.
Okay, thank you so much. I think right now, I think that's
Okay,
what I
thank
know I
you.
have. So I'll give to the next one. If I have any more, I'll just write it down again.
Thank you. Could I have Lynn, please?
Hello, hi. Thanks for your presentation. My question is about partial funding. I've already applied some funding for artist residency to Japan. So I'm hoping I could apply the rest of the funding through British Council, but I'm just wondering, do you, the proposed amount, do you do a percentage of it, or do you fund 100%?
It would depend on your proposal and like obviously the availability of the funds. So I will have to go back to check how much is available in Japan. But yeah, it would depend on that. As I mentioned earlier, it can be, you can combine things with other you can combine with other kind of grant sources, etc. But yes, you would have to acknowledge and see from there.
Okay. Another thing is there any areas you don't fund, like loss of salary or workshop materials? Because I think I'm going to do some workshops there as well.
That's fine. As long as you include it in your budget line and it's part of the collaboration, then as long as you budget for it, then it should be able to be included.
Mich, can I just jump in very quickly here, just to clarify that the grant is not meant to pay for, let's say, for example, your organization's rental or your staff cost or however you can of course include an artistic fee. That is perfect. Yes, that's perfectly fine for the time that you or your partners are spending doing the project. That's fine, but you can't just go and buy a computer or pay for your rental out of this grant. Am I making myself clear?
Yeah.
Okay.
You talk about rental because my work is I need to use film projectors, so I can't bring it with me to Japan. So it's something I need to rent from Japan. Is that
no,
okay?
that's fine.
That's
fine. What I mean is that you can't pay your overheads basically. Sure. If you're under an organization, the grant doesn't cover that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
so
any cost related to making the project, yes.
I see.
Yeah, okay. Cost related to the collaboration is what's included.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Lynn. Gila? Is that correct? Did I say it correctly?
Julia, yeah.
Julia, sorry.
Yeah, sorry. So just to double check, you said that if a project like a film that is just like conceptualized, but it hasn't happened yet, we cannot apply for funding for that. Like it received maybe some funding, but it's still in concept. And the collaboration would be a new collaboration in which I would act as the UK partner, as the producer of the film, and would pitch the film also in the UK, whilst the other partner is in the Philippines, and like the creative team is in the Philippines. Would that not be possible?
I think I would talk about it in terms of like if it's equitable again, if it's beneficial to both the Philippines and the UK partner as a producer, etc. And also if it's a new part. So if it's already existing, or if it's like if it's a new part of that project, then perhaps there's an opportunity. But it's really a case-to-case basis. It depends on, I can't really tell you right now that, oh no, that's not okay, because perhaps it's a brand new series in your film. But I think the thing to stress is really like that you're creating a new collaboration, a new concept, and you're co-creating that concept with your partners. So it's not like one side goes, oh, I've got this, and then can you help? Like it has to be co-created, I think. I think that's the best way to clarify it.
So on this note, if this is not accepted because maybe the partner has already conceptualized that, and I come as the producer, can we like apply for like a residency, like where I would go to the Philippines and workshop with the artist another project, like, so basically a residency, a working project that doesn't have a clear output, like a byproduct immediately, but it's more like a research and development of another project that could be a book or a film.
That's fine, as long as you're both co-creating and co-curating that residency. As long as there's like a collaboration involved, then that would be okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. Ruth?
Hi, I'm Baby Ruth from Voyage. Thanks so much for the presentation and this opportunity. I'm a recipient from, I think, the 2020 CTC grant, and I'm just trying to recall, is there a contract that will be provided by the British Council, or a set document that we will have to agree with our partner, or do we have to sort it out ourselves? And the second question is, I'm curious for like copyrighted materials that we might discover along the way, like music or existing archive. How do we deal with this copyright stuff? Is there like, I don't know, an existing sort of consent from the British Council that we have to use, or do we have to figure it out ourselves as well? Because I think our project could be related to film, documentaries, and, you know, permutations of that.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think I'll answer the first question first. So there is a commitment statement. I forgot the exact term, but there's like a statement that you have to fill out that kind of signifies that there is a commitment from both partners. And I think the format would be on the website. In terms of copyright, I think that's quite a specific question. So I think I would consider that potentially when you get the grant.
Okay, Mitch, maybe I can try to answer this copyright question. So in general, as the grantee, you will be the owner of the product generated from this project. Okay, you will be the owner, but in the contract, you will be going to sign with the British Council. We will request your license agreement for us to be able to use, for example, for publicity, for reporting the activities. Okay, so the detailed requirement we will list out in the contract. We will be going to sign with the grantees. But in principle, the IPR is with you. And if you will be using any third-party IPR, that is the grantee's responsibility to get it properly permitted.
Okay, I'm just curious about documents that we should be using. Is there a template from your side, or do we have to figure it out ourselves?
There's a template for the commitment, for that letter that states that your partner has a commitment.
Okay, and then for the copyright, it's us who should sort of sort it out with any third-party copyright owners. Like, for example, BFI has some archives related to the project that we want to include and stuff like that.
I think, as Nijing mentioned, it's the grantee's responsibility to do that as well.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Rice, last question.
Hi, thank you. I just wondered if there was a limit on the number of grants that we could apply for. So, for example, if there were multiple projects that we were engaged in, is it possible to apply for more than one grant for each project?
You can apply for
different projects.
Yeah, you can apply with different projects, but then if you're chosen, you're only chosen for one project. That's correct, right, Flo and Nijing?
Yes, that's correct.
Yes.
And the reason for that is very simple, is that we want to give as many chances as possible to as many people as possible. It's just a question of giving the opportunity to as many people as we can.
Great. That makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any more questions? If you do have any more questions, please don't hesitate to email this address that's shown on your screen, ctc@britishcouncil.org. And that's it for today. Thank you so much and good luck, and hope this session was beneficial for you. Thank you. Oh, sorry, did you want to say?
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so
Thank you
very much.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Good luck, everyone.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Gracias,